Welcome to the Medieval Armory. I am Logan Graham, and I'm here to tell you about medieval armor and the different kinds and some general evolution of how they developed over the period. First, we got gambeson, which is essentially padded armor. It's made of cloth. It's practically impossible to cut through it in one go, but it can be stabbed through, so it's not perfect. It is also the base layer of other kinds of armor. The arming doublet is essentially just an advanced gambeson. It's got arming points on places like the shoulder where you can tie bits of plate armor. And they also can add mail in places like the armpits, as you can see on the right there, which adds some extra protection in areas that plate armor can't cover. Mail is essentially just a kind of cloth made out of little steel rings that are all interlocked together. It can't really be cut through, but if you have enough force, you can stab through it with the right weapons. There's also, since it's flexible like cloth, it also has zero real protection against blunt force blows. Shields do, on the other hand, have protection against blunt force, and that's why they use them a lot with mail. You can see generally from left to right the general evolution of shields. And you can see that they kind of get smaller as plate armor starts to become more advanced. Speaking of plate armor, since it's made out of, single sheets of metal, it can't really be cut through at all. And for practical speaking, it can't really be pierced either. But it can be dented, especially in the joints. And so the joints, especially for your gaps and also blunt force, are generally the way to go when you want to defeat someone in plate armor. Another kind of plate armor are the coat of plates and the brigandine. It's essentially made out of several sheets, several pieces of plate armor that are riveted to a cloth or leather covering. It has better movement and flexibility, but at the cost of being a little more susceptible to blunt force trauma. Then it also is a little more efficient because damaged plates can always just be removed and new pieces can be put in, whereas full plate armor kind of has to be reworked every time it's damaged. Plus, it also just looks cool. In fact, people thought it looked so cool that they even covered their solid plate armor in cloth sometimes with rivets, because not for any real functional purpose, but just because it looks cool. And they're right. In general, there are a lot of things people say about armor that's just not true. For instance, in movies and TV shows, you'll see that armor is often just like cut through or stabbed through with no problem at all. That's not true. Armor does its job. It's not that weak. It's actually pretty strong depending on the armor. It's also not super heavy or cumbersome. There's an older, I think it's a Victorian era myth where knights had to be winched into their horses. That's not true. You can move around in your plate armor or your mail armor with relative ease. It still has weight to it, but it's overcomable. It's not that bad. This ends the study, and I hope you learned a little bit at least, about medieval armor. Thank you.